Hi everyone, welcome to Newzoo webinar on how to track your game's hype cycle. It's great to see so many of you here today, so thank you for joining us. The webinar will be approximately 25 minutes followed by a 5-minute Q&A session hosted by my colleague Alexis, our research director. We'll share the full recording and the deck with all registrants in case you miss anything or want to share with your colleagues. So a bit of myself before we begin. My name is Nazrin, and I recently joined Newzoo product development team. I oversee the product growth and the strategy within our gamer research area. My background includes role at EA, Respawn Entertainment, and Garena as lead game product manager. And joining us today for the Q&A is Alexis, Newzoo's research director. Alexis will be monitoring the chat room, so you can post any questions throughout the session or save them until the end. So about Newzoo, Newzoo is the leading data provider and partner for the games market with a specific focus on PC and console. We help companies thrive in the games industry by giving them the insights they need to get ahead. Through the Newzoo platform, we provide the best-in-class game performance data, gamer research, and global market forecasts and trends. Today's webinar is powered by our data from our game health tracker. This tool offers actionable game-level consumer insights into hundreds of PC and console games in the US market. For the game health tracker, we survey 3,000 people in the US every month in depth on their game playing behaviors, motivations, and preferences. This allows us to track title-level consumer insights from pre-release to post-release and use this information to guide your product development, user acquisition, and marketing strategies. In today's session, we'll focus on unaided and aided awareness, pre-release purchase intent, identifying target audiences, and post-release retention. So having said that, I'm eager to take you through some of the use cases and demonstrate how you can navigate the various stages of your game hype cycle. In today's webinar, we'll be going through 3 sections. First, we'll follow the journey of a game pre-launch using the game health tracker and look at the intricacies of the potential purchasing funnel. The next section will demonstrate how can you use that analysis to dive deeper into who's interested in your game. Specifically, demographics and psychographics that can help you respond to your pre-launch reception. And finally, we'll move to the critical post-launch phase by looking at a similar process post-launch for widening your audience. All of this will help you whether you are a AAA publisher or a smaller development studio. Understand how successfully your campaigns are running, what to do in response, and of course, how to maximize opportunities from players who are interested or potentially interested in your game. So let's dive into our first section, tracking games hypes pre-launch. Purchase funnel. So purchase funnel in gaming are roughly the same as in other consumer industries. They map a consumer journey from initial awareness through their decision to buy something. To understand a game's purchase funnel, we start with unaided awareness, move to aided awareness, then purchase intent, and ultimately, we arrive at the conversion rate. This progression highlights the game's appeal and demonstrates the success of the game's pre-launch marketing strategies. In the next few slides, we'll explore each of these metrics in detail, showing you how they contribute to shaping the purchase funnel, and for our case study example today, Tekken 8. So we start with unaided awareness. If you are unfamiliar with this metric, it's the measure of spontaneous recall. To gather unaided awareness data, what we do is that we tell players in the survey to think of titles that have yet to be released and share the first games that come to their mind. And we collect these unprompted responses. It offers an authentic glimpses into the current level of excitement and anticipation for your game, which is crucial for amplifying visibility and pre-launch engagement. In the chart here, we see Tekken 8 has seen a consistent increase in an unaided awareness, signaling a growing buzz. Even though it may reach the awareness level of games like GTA and COD, this growth is still noteworthy, as it showcases Tekken 8's rising presence in the minds of gamers leading up to its launch. And then next, aided awareness. Unlike unaided awareness, together aided awareness data, we show a list of game titles to respondents, and they indicate which of them they have heard of and how well they know them. Aided awareness provides a measure of recognition that goes beyond what is top of mind. It is a different kind of insight into the reach of a game and the effectiveness of its pre-launch marketing. Aided awareness can be influenced by several factors, including competing game launches, the franchise scale, genre popularity, as well as other market trends. Comparing a game to similar titles within its subgenre, i.e., with similar gameplay and mechanics, can be very useful, especially for new games seeking to establish themselves in the market. So let's focus on Tekken 8. We can see that the release of its Gamescom trailer in August 2023 played a pivotal role in boosting its visibility. But if you compare Tekken 8 to the pre-launch of Mortal Kombat 1, we can see that the latter game held a higher profile from the start, with a drop in awareness over the summer before it surged ahead of its release. Fans got a first tease of Mortal Kombat 1 in February 2023, with the official name and release date dropping in May. It is unusual pre-launch approach, consistently releasing trailers and drip feeding information over 4 months may explain why its awareness curve surges in the last 2 months before its release and looks quite different to Tekken 8. This comparison highlights the distinct marketing approaches of those two games and also underscore the different factors that influence their awareness levels. Now on to purchase intent. Prior to launch, we always ask how likely players are to purchase a title. Intenders are those who say they will purchase. We also capture players who say they will consider doing so and those who don't think they will purchase at all. Purchase intent help us measure player interest in a game pre-release, but it does not guarantee sales. Sales performance, on the other hand, can be influenced by a variety of external factors, such as competing game releases and review scores, which may affect prediction based on the purchase intent. So let's take a closer look. If we consider that media spend is a primary driver of awareness, both Bandai Namco for Tekken 8 and NetherRealm Studios for Mortal Kombat 1 might have expected a sharper increase in their games intent to purchase curves. This is because boosting these metrics usually requires considerable effort and resources. This scenario underlines the importance of continuously monitoring market responses to fine-tune your pre-launch campaigns. Finally, we reach the pivotal measure of conversion rate. A game's conversion rate is the percentage of people who show interest in purchasing your game from the pool of people already aware of the game, rather than the total population. Benchmarking your entire funnel allow you to measure the success of your efforts and compare your title to similar titles and of course your competitors as well, because it shows you the effectiveness of your campaign among the people it reach. So the chart here shows that despite Tekken 8 registering lower aided awareness compared to Mortal Kombat 1, it boasts a higher conversion rate. Fewer players may know of Tekken 8 than Mortal Kombat 1, but a higher proportion of players who know about Tekken are excited to purchase it when it comes out. A game doesn't have to be on everyone's mind to be successful. So while generating hype is crucial, translating it into actual sales is equally important and present its own challenges. Having a clear strategy in place, bolstered by comprehensive data, helps you answer a critical question like, where will my marketing budget have the most significant impact? And then who is my primary target audience? And where can I engage with them effectively? So we'll tackle this question in our next section. So these are the key hype factors we recommend to cover pre-launch: unaided aided awareness, purchase intent, and competitor benchmarking. Now let's see who is actually interested in purchasing your game and where you can find them. Let's start by answering who is my primary target audience. This is the core audience who we absolutely want to be interested in our game. Our early adopters and our champions. The success of our launch and our ability to scale rely on this tight cohort of players and getting them hyped and happy. Here we are focusing solely on age and gender, but the game health tracker includes various dimensions like motivation to play, interests in other games, and purchase and playing behaviors to pinpoint your most promising audiences. In the case of Tekken 8, analysis in the month leading up to its launch reveal a significant trend towards younger player intending to purchase the game. This insight might resonate with your initial perception of the target audience, of course, but it also opens the door to recognize potentially other groups as well. As the digital landscape continues to grow and change, identifying where your primary audience looks for game news or game guide can help you or guide you where and how you invest in marketing. When comparing players who intend to purchase Tekken 8 with those who do not, clear differences emerge. The exclamation points on the chart highlight statistically significant differences between potential buyers and those not planning to purchase. This provides clear insights into which social media platforms are most effective for engaging our target audience and help publishers to fine-tune their strategies for better impact. Individuals intending to purchase Tekken 8 gather their purchasing information from various sources with a higher likelihood of obtaining it from social media, online promotions, ads, online stores, creators, to gaming subscriptions. When they engage with social media, they prefer these five platforms. But we see a significant uptick in intent to purchase among TikTok and Snapchat user, likely influenced by their relatively younger age compared to non-intenders. So we look at the demographics of purchase intenders, as well as the target channels for announcement and launches. Once you know who you should target and where they spend their time, you can more accurately allocate your marketing budget. Other key metrics you can look at are profiling your most valuable players. For example, you can identify players who spend a lot of time engaging your game, but also those who make in-game purchases based on your monetization models. If you pull this data from your game and those of your competitors, you can track monetization and benchmark your own targets. On to the final chapter, how to maintain the hype. Now you have done all the work to target and grow your gaming community. You can build post-launch strategy for long-term and scalable success. So, how do you stay on top of key post-launch metrics? After experiencing initial growth, a game often reaches levels of maturity and plateaus. So, exploring strategies to acquire new users or new players or maximize revenue per player become more important once awareness stagnates. As Tekken 8 only released in January this year, it hasn't had enough time to show a consistent post-release trend. So we'll switch to three recent but older games, which are Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate 3, and Starfield. Three titles with considerable hype to track whether that hype manifested into success. So when we compare Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield here, we notice that Starfield's awareness actually fluctuated more than Baldur's Gate. This is likely because Baldur's Gate is an established franchise with a dedicated fan base. Starfield, on the other hand, is a new IP, and new properties have a tougher time generating consistent awareness. Cyberpunk 2077, released in December 2020, seems to have plateaued in awareness, but still experiences little ups and downs, which could be related to releases of other titles or major DLC updates. Now let's talk about fine-tuning your marketing messaging. there are there are many ways to profile your players and identifying profile primary and secondary audiences. Motivation to play are just one of many dimensions you can look at to tailor your messaging to certain types of players. A game will naturally attract different types of players based on their individual preferences. So understanding this variation is very important for maximizing interest in your game. For example, with Starfield, we see nuances among those who have already purchased the game, those who intend to buy the game, and those who may consider buying the game. So role playing is a significant motivation for those who have already purchased the game, while for prospective buyers, important factors are socializing, excitement, role playing, and even customization aspect. Interestingly, for players considering buying it, high quality graphics and unique art style are more influential. This provides an angle to consider for secondary player acquisition. Now, are your tactical measure moving the needle? After the wave of initial excitement from your core enthusiasts and early adopters, you are likely to want to appeal to your broader secondary and tertiary audiences who may hold off on purchasing until later. As we have just seen, Game Health Tracker can help you work out who they are and what they might want to hear from you regarding your game. But we also know that tactical measures such as price drops or additional content can be highly effective in attracting more players. Strategic pricing adjustment, for instance, are a proven tool for drawing in wider groups of players. If you look at Cyberpunk, we see that strategy comes to life. Significant price cuts on major platform boosted engagement for players who had not yet converted to customers. So let's summarize this section. To keep the hype you build up during the first stages in pre-launch and go-to-market, there are a few steps to continue post-launch. First one, keep tracking your metrics to stay on top of campaign effectiveness, and then fine-tune your messaging to maximize your conversion rate, and then review your tactical options to target secondary and tertiary players. Using the game health tracker, you don't need to do this in isolation. You can track all the same metrics against your competitors and continue to benchmark your success. That is the end of the webinar. It's time to answer some of your questions. So I'll bring Alexis onto the screen with me. So welcome, Alexis.
Hi, thanks, Nazrin. And thank you very much for taking us through those use cases. I can tell you now we've had a ton of great questions throughout the session. I've tried to answer some of them as we go, but there were quite a lot coming in thick and fast, so didn't manage to get to that. So I can reassure anyone that has asked a question that we are going to try and answer them all. That is one way or another. Probably some of them will be followed up with later, but let me see if I can pick out one or two that I didn't get to in the chat for now, and then I'll come back to you, Nazrin, to ask a couple of questions that came in via other channels. So we had, I mean, touching on one question I really did like, I did answer in the chat, was whether there was this kind of seasonality in game releases, to which I answered, you know, it was about whether there were good months or bad months to release games. And obviously, that kind of is what the game health tracker is for. So I love the fact that somebody asked that question. My answer was that it depends, of course, on the game and the competitive landscape at the time, the other similar games being released, and so on and so on. So, yeah, I mean, the answer really is that's what the tracker's for. There were some related similar questions on whether we have any insight on the ideal pre-order campaign length, the kind of thing that would, like, you know, what duration is a good duration to have ahead of release, to maximize awareness and purchase intent. And again, I would say that is where the strategic application of the game health tracker comes into play. Of course, it's a tool for measuring. It's not going to be able to tell you in advance the best way of doing stuff, and of course you have a judgment on that. But What we can look at to inform that sort of thing is similar games that have been released in the past, similar games which you'd expect to have similar kind of pre-launch strategies for, and either ape that kind of approach or don't do it if you feel it didn't go very well for that publisher. So the tracking isn't just for tracking your game, which I think Naz has got across pretty clearly. It's also a tool for looking at historic successes and failures of your own, and also your competitors. So I guess the answer to that question is the insight is in the history of the game health tracker, and of course it's one of many tools that Newzoo offers for supporting those sorts of campaigns as well. So it's not just the game health tracker. You might want to look at other services that we provide, which we're not talking about here, so I won't dwell on that. So I hope that answers that question, and we will write that in text and get back to whoever asked that question properly. There was another question about recommending the game health tracker for new and smaller titles that would have perhaps lower unaided awareness, except with niche audiences. And I think that also kind of lets me simultaneously answer another question about which is the better metric to use, or do we need both? I think that the two are very different metrics, and some developers, again, this was touched on in your story, Nazrin, that yes, the game health tracker does track smaller titles, and some developers are not looking to, and they maybe not be able to generate huge awareness scores at the pre-launch stage. But that may not matter because it's all about measuring the effectiveness of the campaign. And so if you're generating a great conversion rate from the awareness that you're able to raise, then that's the real secret sauce. If you can raise a limited amount of awareness and get a great purchase intent score, then that's what you're of course aiming for. So yes, it is an application. There is a role for the game health tracker, however much pre-launch marketing budget you have, or indeed in the case of Mortal Kombat 1, however much time you load into the front. So yeah, I would say that there's an application for a use case for the product there. And just scrolling through more, there's so many good questions. I kind of see if I can pick out one more. I think I may have got to that one, but I know I answered that one too. Curious to know if there are any examples of free-to-play game releases. Yes, we cover some free-to-play titles throughout the tracking from the beginning of the tracking. So the selection process is really any game really that's been released around the period or that is likely to be generating buzz before its launch. So it's probably worth me actually also covering some of the questions that we had more generally about what the survey consists of. There was one question about the screening. It's regular, monthly PC and console gamers. So that's where the sort of screening of the survey is. It's 3,000 surveys in the US. And what we basically do is we update the games list via a mix of what's coming, what's released, every wave, every month. We do continuous surveying throughout the month. So there's like, it's weekly targets. So it's also representative throughout the month. And we ask up to, I think, 250 games from the post-release section. Of course, we don't want to bore respondents by making them respond to 250 games. So we pick a random selection of 70 games for each respondent. So that means every game has an equal chance of being scored. So that's why it kind of balances respondent fatigue versus ensuring that we get a good response for that question. The up-and-coming games are selected from, quite literally what it sounds like, up-and-coming games that we generate through our desk research. And of course, we have that pretty close to hand most of the time. So so that's the method, and that's where the kind of game selection comes from, and that's why we're confident that we have the free-to-play games. If they're coming up, they're on the radar, they've just been released, then the finals, for example, will be in this wave. So yeah, I think that covers all the questions I can legitimately get to from the list. I will, as I say, go through the chat and answer them one by one too, in case I missed any. I've got a couple for you, Naz, that came through other channels. I just want to see if I've got time to cover those.
Yeah, sure.
So The first one, so this one, I could try and read it out verbatim. It's great the tracking can help me decide who to target my marketing at, but can it help me decide what to say to them, to the players, presumably? Does it also provide more depth on gamers' other interests, like their hobbies, other stuff, and so on?
Okay. So yeah, the answer is yes. So it provides more depth than we able to show here today. Definitely, I think as well as the demographics, the sources of gaming news and motivations, which we covered. We asked about the time players spend playing, how important gaming is to them, their platform preference, their preferences for various game modes like single player, competitive, cooperative. So we also asked a bit about their other entertainment consumption, for example, like movies, TVs, and music, etc. So, however, if you want more of that kind of thing to help build a campaign, for example, or maybe test out a brand collaboration idea or strategic partnership or sponsorship, then we would point you to our global gamer study, which has much more detail on the gamers themselves, their interests, their pastime, their video viewing behavior, their relationship with the gaming hardware even, and communities and so on. So yeah,
Yeah. We
I
had
hope
some
that answers your
questions.
question. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we had some other questions about mobile and VR coverage as well, so that would be the place to go for that. And I think there's a couple of the more detailed questions about that, which we'll address by email later on. And the other question that stuck out for me was, do we have a way of segmenting players in the tracker, or a way to customize and cut the data so that it kind of represents my own addressable audience? Is
Of
there a
course,
way to
yes.
slice the data in any way that I guess users want?
Yes, definitely. I think first of all, the data is accessible via our platform, and with that, you have access to our cross-tabbing tool that allows you to build your own analysis of the data. Actually, much of what we saw today came directly from that cross-tabbing tool. So part of it includes filtering an analysis by any of the variables we asked about. So, for example, like gender, age, whether they played combination of different games, and so on. So in addition, we also be adding more new motivational segmentation to the game health tracker soon. So user will soon be able to use this to filter the data by up to 10 personas, which are built from answers to questions about what motivates players to play games in the first place. So the good thing about those is that they are also going to be added in Global Gamer Study, GGS. So once you learn more like who is motivated by your game. With Game Health Tracker, you can actually go on to find out more about those types of gamers or personas with the Global Gamer Studies. So we'll be launching this very shortly. So watch this space.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other question, Alexis? Or
Yeah, no, I think that you
all right.
can round it off. Yeah.
Yep. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We'll send out the recording, the presentation, and as well as the Q&A to all registrants by email next week. You can also find the link to our latest free report in the channel available to download now. The Ultimate Game Hype Tracking Guide covers some of the tracking methods we talk about today and more. If you would like to, talk to us more about tracking your game, you can contact me and Alexis directly by email, or connect with us via the LinkedIn QR codes. So thanks again for joining us today, and hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.